Have you read the Quran? Have you read like fully or like all of the Quran? Like
I have read it
okay.
a few times.
Okay.
But only even Arab people, they can't understand it properly. There's so many words. It's very
simply as far as you know, only the qualified people in a proper Arabic language they could understand it. You know, so it's not easy. As for any English person, he might find some of the vocabularies in anywhere in the English language. Find it difficult. For example, the police officer was on my place, and we had a discussion, and I told him I did a surgery, this and that for my dad. He said, what type of what does it mean that? You know, it's kind of like something like that.
It
so
can be
not
difficult,
anyone is quite difficult.
Right, so only the ulama, only the scholars.
The slang language, comparing to the Arabic, the proper language, the official language, it's very, very hard, man.
Well,
not anyone, not even if you are an adult or whatever, so, or even you are a doctor or engineer, so you are able to, no, you need to study, to do like 4 or 5 years, things like that, to be able to deal with these
Can I ask you just very quickly?
Yeah, cool, go ahead.
So my understanding is there are verses in the Quran that don't have any meaning. Only the meaning is only known to Allah. Can I show you?
I agree with that. No, one second.
I'll talk to you about this.
I agree with you.
Only God knows.
I agree. Some words, not the whole verses, some words. Like
part of the verse.
Like the first one in Al-Baqarah, Alif Lam Mim. No one has the translated or has find the meaning of it. Yeah, of course.
But
I do.
Fair
not until now. 1 second. Not until now.
Not until now.
Not until now.
You think we know now? Oh
maybe
no,
later,
we don't know
maybe
yet.
later.
We don't know.
Okay. Maybe later. Someone intelligent might come up with any good explanation about it. You know what?
I forgot to say what.
I'm just gonna say one thing and then you can come back to me just very quickly. Something that always troubles me is there are parts of the Quran. There's actually a few of these. Where we'll start off with Alif Lam.
So this one, for example, is referring to what you're saying, which is no one knows the right meaning of it. You know.
But it also says in the same verse, these are the verses of the book, the clear Quran. How can it be a clear Quran if I don't know what those verses mean?
The first 3 letters, you mean, yeah?
Sorry.
The first 3 letters.
Yeah, the first. There's a few of these, but this is one that I found. So it's just this one here. Like this verse cannot make sense. It contradicts itself in the verse because it says it's the verses of the clear book, but I don't know what that is, so it can't be.
Okay, one second. That's for me and you, not for someone who is qualified to know what is it.
But no one knows what that means, right?
Me and him. I
don't know. Alif Lam Ra is difficult to understand. But
no one knows, man. No one knows.
It's like a code, and maybe we can understand the meaning of it maybe in the future. Not for this time.
But if the Quran says it's a clear book in the same verse,
but he said the book, whole book. So
but it's in the verse, and he's talking about the verses in the clear book. So it's saying these are the verses in the clear book, but it also said Alif Lam Ra at the beginning of it. So. Yeah.
There is tafsir for it, and I have read it before, but I forgot what
tafsir, my friend.
What can I say to you? I need to read it again and show it to
you. Do you think the Quran can have contradictions in it?
It shouldn't have contradictions.
Why? Why do you think that?
If it's God's origin, it's not God's word.
Okay, so God's word cannot have contradictions.
It shouldn't have. No.
But in the Quran, it actually tells you it can. Because in the Quran, there is a verse that says that if this is not from Allah, surely they would find many contradictions in it. It doesn't say you would find a or one contradiction. It says you would find many.
Not many, a lot.
But it's plural. It's not just a singular contradiction. It's many of them, or more than one.
A lot. Yeah.
How many is that? Is that a number or?
100 of them.
Yeah.
That's why
so in that way,
Ahadith is not the word of God. That's why there is differences in it. That's what God's saying. If these words are not from God, you will definitely find differences, and which refer also maybe to the Bible. If these words are not pure from God, you will find differences. But he didn't say, but he said like the Quran is a God pure word, but the Hadith is not pure.
The issue I have is, put it this way, I don't think that Allah has revealed in the Quran the idea that the Quran needs to be contradiction free. I don't think he has.
Show me contradiction.
I mean, you can say he said he would preserve his word, and I would probably say that means the Injil and the Torah, but let's just say it means the Quran or whatever. That's not the same as contradiction. He could have added contradictions and just preserved the contradictions. But when it talks about contradictions specifically in the Quran, it says, you won't find many.
Where?
So we can find the verse for you if you want.
Find the verse.
No, find the verse.
About not from the Quran. If you're gonna go to other book, that's what he's trying.
I think
to
this is the Quran.
No. We're saying about other books.
Let me find
ولو
it.
كان هذا من عند الله من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا. And this word was, if it was not from God, you will find differences. So basically, if you're gonna read other books, which is not from God, you will find differences.
Surah An-Nisa, ayah 82.
I know, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I've clicked it. There we go. It's this one. Then they do not reflect upon the Quran. No, do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction. Much.
Okay,
Much
can you?
Many.
Many.
Yeah, more than one.
Okay, so
He's trying to say that there is differences in the Quran. But here,
Yeah.
God, no, in Arabic,
what
God
if
defended the
referring
Quran.
to?
That
One second.
it's the only.
The if what referring to in here? If there is no, means no. If there's no possible, no.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Yeah, so if it had been from someone else other than Allah,
Yeah.
then they would have found many.
Okay, but
So in other words, it can still be from Allah and have a few or one.
But there is no, nothing is sure because it says if it was.
But if means if it's from someone else from Allah,
Yeah.
they would find within it many contradictions.
Yeah, they would find is referring to the F back.
I don't understand what you mean. Do you understand what he means?
One second.
So let me find it.
This is all one sentence, okay?
Yep.
So you stuck in here. They would find, okay. But start from the beginning. It says
Okay.
if.
Yep.
If means
If they
not
if-
certain.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So
One second. Don't they reflect upon the Quran? What does it mean reflect here in English? Because I think reflect is different than yatadabbarun. Yatadabbar in Arabic, it's mean read the Quran only and try to find out every single word that they mean.
Yeah.
So, and then he said, if this book was not from God, you will definitely find differences. Which means, if you're gonna go other books, you will find differences. But Quran, pure word, you're not gonna find differences. What does that mean?
And he says
so
many.
you're discussing this point at the end of the day. Where's the differences? Where's the contradiction?
Well, what I'm saying is that because of the way this is structured, you can actually have differences in the Quran. You just can't have many of them.
One or many. But one second. The objection here, one of the many, there is nothing.
No. It doesn't say one or many. It just says many. Many would be like
A lot.
6, 7, hundreds, however. But if there was one difference or contradiction in the Quran, that is probably permissible according to the Quran.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
I think
here we're talking about
in
differences, not talking about contradictions.
Well, they translate it to
Differences.
that. He's an Arabic speaker. He says it means differences. Fine, differences. If you want to have it that way.
Differences
But
is
either way, they would differ.
different meaning with that.
The Quran would differ with itself. Many of those, if it were not from Allah. But what it's saying is, you can actually have differences, but not many of them, and still be from Allah.
No.
They say many.
Do you not understand how that flows?
One
Doesn't
or
mean
many.
that.
Yeah,
You
I
understand how
got
that flows?
your point.
What is it?
One-
again?
It's Surah Nisa 82. Wait. Oh, it's gone off. Let me find it. There we go. Surah, here it is.
Okay. I'm gonna say to you in Arabic what he's trying to say here.
Okay.
Don't they examine the Quran, and if this book was not from God,
Okay.
you will definitely find many different. That's what it means.
Right.
He's not talking about the Quran. He's trying to say that if you examine the Quran, you will see that this is a pure God word. If it's not from God,
Okay,
and
if it
any
wasn't.
other word wasn't from God, you will find
one
difference.
difference.
Like
Right,
hadith,
right,
many
right.
different.
So-
That's what it means.
Wait.
So what's the problem? What's the difference between
Wait, if it wasn't from-
difference
That's
or-
what does it mean in
or many
Arabic.
differences?
Wait. If it wasn't
I'm
from-
telling you. I'm
Okay.
telling you. Okay. If you comparing England to Ireland, okay, you will find one difference or many differences. So it doesn't change any meaning of the sentence itself.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. For me, it's quite clear.
انه عم اقول انه اذا افلت تلفزيون القران ولو كان من عندي غير الله هذا
في
الكتاب
اختلاف كثير. هو مشكلته كثيرا ولا
لا مو
one
قصة
much
كثيرة
or one.
مو قصة كثيرة. والمشكلة تبعه
Because-
انه هو عم يقول بهذا الكتاب نحن بنآمن انه هذا الكتاب غير محرف.
طيب.
وعم يقول او لو كان من عندي غير الله لوجد فيه اختلاف. يعني مثل عندنا الاحاديث فيها اختلاف كثير. لانه لو كان من عند الله لحتى you're not gonna find difference. But because this book is from only God, therefore there is no difference.
No, that's not what it says.
That's what I said in Arabic. It's different
Okay,
translation.
but I can talk to any Sunni Muslim here and they will tell me it means there's no contradictions in the Quran.
Of course, there is no contradiction in the Quran, and there is
But-
no differences in the Quran. He's saying here you
if
will
you
find
say that-
differences
if you say
if
that,
it's not God word.
The point is whether it's many or whether it's much, plural, more than one. So the Quran, Allah who reveals the Quran, according to Islam, says that if it were not from Allah, you would surely find within it many differences.
Okay.
So
my point is,
what does
the
it mean
Quran-
for you?
all I'm trying to get at, is that it is wrong to say that from this verse at least, that it means that if there were any contradictions in the Quran, it would be wrong. What the Quran is actually saying is, if there were many, more than one, then it would be not from Allah.
No.
So there could be a contradiction in the Quran, or a difference in the
You
Quran.
could say many.
Right, the
you could
Quran
say-
never
you could
goes
say
as far.
much, you could say too much. You could say
Doesn't mean-
Allah.
Sure.
You
That's
could
all
say
plural.
Allah,
That's
but-
all more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But too much, Allah,
Yeah.
and much are the same meaning. But many,
Sure.
many is not. Many is multiple.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we'll just use the words. Whatever word you want to use is
Much.
fine. Much.
This is
Okay,
the
so
right
then
word.
you would find much contradiction.
Much. Okay, which is okay. More than.
More than one.
Not more than these. Not one. Not one. Okay. The right meaning of much is more. It's more than more than one in a simple sentence. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you say much mean much. Okay.
Yeah, it means more than one.
Okay, it basically means more than one. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you say I've got too much stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean here that's more than like one.
Well,
Exactly.
stuff is a plural
Exactly.
word meaning more. If you say I have too much stuff, you're actually implying more than one.
It is more. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. But many means few.
Sure.
So
Well,
there
yeah.
is like a
Sure.
clear difference.
Fine, but it's
between
still
this
more
and
than one. Few is more than one.
It is
Yeah.
Okay,
more
did you
than
read
one.
the
It
tafsir?
is more than one. Okay.
let's have a look.
Here,
But will you accept the
here
tafsir?
we're talking about the quantity.
It depends on what tafsir. Wait.
Yeah,
I don't have problem with many or a lot.
No.
My-
This is the point. This is the whole point
Yeah,
about the meaning of the word, many or much. When you're talking about the quantity, okay, you're specifically talking about the one quantity more than one. But here we're talking about the whole things, which is
انت لسه عم
which is
تعترف
much.
انه في اختلاف في القرآن.
No. I'm
كان
not saying.
كثير ولا
I'm
قليل.
I'm trying to clarify the point in here. Okay.
So that's kind of my it's just an interesting thing, right? Like
I have got
Muslims
what
have
does
this
it mean.
idea.
It's mean
Yeah.
here that if this word
Many
was not from wait, let me
Many. One
explain.
second. Many means sorry. Much and a lot are the same, but many and a lot are not the same.
Brother in humanity, I think you're agreeing with me. I don't think you're disagreeing with me. We both believe that it means more than one.
Yeah. But
There
here
are.
you're
We
talking
agree.
about. Yeah. One second.
Yeah.
If you're
He's
talking about.
not talking about from the book Quran. He says that if you're gonna go to other book that doesn't have God word on it, you will definitely find differences. That's what God said. You understand? He's basically trying to say here that the Quran is only pure God word. If you're gonna go to other book or
Wait.
other
Yeah, that's correct. That is
will find difference.
but he's saying only because it doesn't have much differences. He doesn't say any. He doesn't say there's only one. If you find one, then it's not from Allah. He says no. It is from Allah, and you know because there's not much difference.
No.
That's it. Well,
أفلا تتدبرون القرآن ولو كان هذا
من عند
القرآن
الله لكان لو وجدوا
من
فيه
عند
اختلافا
غير الله
لو وجدوا فيه اختلافا واحدا هو عم يقول
كثيراً.
لك لا هو عم يقول لك ليش كثيرا ليش ما وجدوا فيه اختلافا واحدا
Okay.
why much why not one why much
exactly.
so there is possibility what he's saying there is possibility to be like a lot of differences
Or even just
why
one.
he didn't say one only
well,
I got the point.
could be
I got the point.
could be just one.
Okay.
Could be just one. It could be.
It could be,
Could be just one.
but it doesn't make like big differences.
Yeah,
if
but
you
he's
say one or
confirming
much.
that you will definitely find a lot of differences in
Yeah.
in other.
Yeah.
A lot.
So Allah is saying that because Allah
He doesn't
believes
have
that's
to
His
say
word,
one.
right?
He's confirming. He's telling me you definitely
Yeah, but
will find a lot of differences.
if this is Allah's word, then He chooses His word specifically, and He has specifically said plural, more than one. So
Yeah,
He is telling
but
you
it doesn't-
that if you want to know this isn't from Allah, you will find many issues with it. I still think there are many issues.
Yeah,
with
but
it.
sometimes it's not
You know?
referring
Yeah.
to quantity. Sometimes it's referring to the size, as a big, much as a bigger.
So you can have small contradictions but not big ones.
Maybe bigger.
That's
Yeah, bigger
interesting.
as a
That's
not. You know, as not as a quantity, as a size. No, you're not.
You're totally.
Why not? It can be much is not about quantity.
My friend,
it can be about bigger, about taller.
So
about,
you are confirming that there is difference in the Quran. That's what you're saying.
I'm not.
Whether it's small
one
or
second,
big.
man. 1 second. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the
He
meaning.
said in a simple way. He said it in a simple way. If it's not from
much,
God,
it cannot be only more than one.
You will find different.
It can be bigger. It can be taller. It can be.
my friend,
Anyway.
what this means to me, these are difficulties that lead me to believe the Quran is not the word of Allah.
That's what you think.
That's what I think. And I think that there is confusion. I don't think this is. I don't think that what Muslims. And you kind of agree that Muslims don't teach what the Quran actually says. They have added to their deen. You know, you say, look, I reject. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but also okay. So is Muhammad sinless? Do you remember? I think Muhammad is sinless.
Musa committed sin.
Did Muhammad commit sin?
He did commit sin.
There you are.
He's not
There you
sinless. He made some mistake.
Fair play.
But the small mistake.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
But my point is, if I go to Muslims right here and I ask them, is Muhammad sinless? They'll say, yes, he is sinless. He is sinless. According to Muslims here, I will have conversations with Muslims and they will say, yes, Muhammad is sinless and all the prophets are sinless. Not a single prophet committed sin.
في آية بتقول لما عفى الله عنك وده محمد كان يبغى نسمع شو اسمها this one to confirm in the Quran that Muhammad he made a mistake.
Yeah, there are verses in the Quran.
That's in the Quran.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I've read that. I agree.
Yeah.
But you see,
God tell him like, why have you done this?
Yeah.
I forgive you, but why
yeah.
So it's not sin.
Allah forgive me for my past and future sins. But so to me, Islam today is not the Islam that Muhammad revealed.
This is what
It's not the same.
Was what out of the mercy. He's a human being, you know.
Yeah,
he said
It wasn't that. It's not. It's one of that major sins, you know. Was something like. Was something like okay. I would forgive my whatever like right to be doing anything. I'm giving more mercy, okay. But in a Allah law or whatever it says, it's not allowed. That's it. So don't do it. But it's not.
Okay, do you believe Muhammad
he did any injustice for someone?
Do you believe Muhammad was sinless?
Do you believe Muhammad is sinless? Same like you.
Depends what the definition of the sins you mean, because there is something like big, huge. One second.
Yeah, so this is the thing. It's different in Muslims.
But it is different.
What the deen is today, the Aqidah is today, is not what Muhammad taught. It's not what Muhammad taught.
It's not what the Quran.
It's what? It's not what the Quran taught. I agree. I absolutely agree. When Muslims tell me that Muhammad he did the Miraj.
He did Miraj.
The Miraj, you know, the Isra, Surah 17, the Al Isra. Yes, and they say that after he went from the sacred place of prostration to the furthest place of prostration, they say that then he did the Miraj to the 7 levels of Jannah.
Yeah.
Right, and some say they saw Muhammad, they saw Allah. Some say that Muhammad went to the highest level and saw Allah, and Allah was veiled. That's what some Muslims say.
What the ayah says.
But this is not mentioned in the Quran.
Definitely, it's not like.
Well, Muslims.
He cannot go there. It's spiritual.
Sure. Muslims disagree. Some say spiritual, some say physical. You can't say it's a dream. That's haram. They won't let you say it's a dream. But there is division. No.
احكي وقت رسولك عربي رسولي وين صدرة راح بجسده ولا راح بجسده ولا
To my mind, no, it was a spiritual journey.
Of course it's spiritual. But doesn't make sense if he cannot go by his body. No one can do that.
You know there is I know you don't accept hadith, but there is a hadith where Aisha says that anyone who says that he saw Muhammad saw his Lord is a liar. You know that one? Yeah, I think it's saying yeah, Aisha said that, yeah. So that's interesting, right? So maybe it was only spiritually. But
There is a verse in the Quran in chapter 18, I think.
Yep.
Where the unbelievers are asking Muhammad to perform some miracles.
Yep.
One of the things they ask is to ascend into heaven and bring them down the book. And the reply to that say, you are only a messenger.
Yeah.
Meaning that you cannot perform such
That's in the Quran,
yeah. Did Muhammad do miracles?
No.
Okay. So if I talk to
closer to Quran.
I have big doubts about hadith.
I have big doubt.
I think that's correct. I think the hadiths have problems in them.
I think hadith mainly, even the corrections.
Still, they may have contradiction in the Quran.
They do,
If there is a contradiction in the Quran, then categorically reject. But the hadith mainly is to govern us, say, to govern the society of that time.
Right.
It wasn't meant to be an everlasting command.
Makes sense, yes.
Right. My issue that I have with
Like,
it. Yeah.
can I give you an example?
Sure. Yeah.
For example, the Prophet said, if he did, that a woman cannot travel alone,
Okay.
except if she was accompanied by some guard.
Yeah.
One of
Family
her
member.
relatives.
Yeah.
Now that, for example, is purely for that time because there were bandits, there were some hazardous issues, I don't know.
Yeah, but now Afghanistan they use it. Now woman,
No,
she cannot even go and study.
only recently in Saudi Arabia.
You know, in
So wrong.
is it
Half of the population stay at home.
is
Don't
it
do nothing.
Pakistan or Afghanistan? I can't remember where it is. There are
Syria.
oh no this is in Iran. There are schoolgirls who are being gassed because in Iran there are schoolgirls who are being gassed because they're going to school and
do you mean
there are extremists who go to the school and they release gas to poison them. Yeah, in Iran. Let me show you it. Yeah, well, let me.
Iran, basically.
Yeah, in Iran.
And Shia, most of them don't even read the Quran. They write their own other books.
Yeah.
More than Sunni.
So
I
Iran.
can't see anything.
Oh, okay, it says dozens of schoolgirls taken to hospital after new gas poisonings in Iran, and they do it because they don't want them. They don't want them
You
learning.
get all kind of lunatics doing all kind of things.
You see, the thing is that when you look at Islam historically, it's very different from what it is today. It's not what it is today.
Which
Yeah.
Islam you're talking about. Not all Islam.
I think the problem we have in Islam at the moment is ahadith, many ahadith that been attributed to the Prophet Muhammad and has made our religion look bad. That's why now we are to the Quran.
That exists everywhere, man. Any religion, so nothing abnormal in here.
Well, no, because so in Christianity, our hadith is the Gospels. So when we want to know what Jesus said, we read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's what Jesus said.
Okay, but you never know. At least in Islam, we know and we are sure about who has written and who didn't read. Okay, these wrote these hadith. In Christianity, I think I'm not quite sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, you don't know and you're not certainly sure about who has written this your books, all your versions of books, and who has modified them around the time. Am I right?
Can I ask you a question?
No, correct me if I'm
Sure.
wrong.
So the answer is no, we do know. But let me just give you.
You do know?
Yes, and I will explain. And I will tell you. I promise I'll tell you.
Okay.
But just very quickly.
And you know every single version of these books who's been edited by.
So let me give you an overview.
Upgraded by.
Let me give you an overview.
I might be wrong.
There are certain books that we are not 100% sure of the author of.
Okay.
So for example, there is the Epistle to the Hebrews.
Okay.
We're not sure who the author is. Some say it's Paul, some
Yeah.
say it might be Luke, some say it might be a scribe of Paul. There's some debate.
Okay.
But there are ones in which we feel we have traditions that we are confident in, that we know who wrote them. So for example, we know that from John, we know that there was a disciple of his called Polycarp who wrote his letters about him.
Yeah.
From Polycarp, there was a disciple called Irenaeus who wrote letters about him. So we, likewise in Islam, when you have the isnads and the narrations, we kind of have the same thing, but we don't need them. You see what I mean?
So what is your way to confirm this person has written this book or has modified it?
So for us, one way.
Before you reply,
All right, please.
There is like a way, a whole way of making
that
sure.
makes sense.
It's a big way to make sure. That's
Sure.
what I'm trying. Which is the Christianity is much older, you know. That's why I'm trying. How you follow up that from this time to this time, this person is a similar way to that. Islam.
So kind of. So in Islam, you need the science of the isnad. You need that to know what the Prophet said. Because without that,
if that's been said by the Prophet,
yes, you need to verify it
and
with the isnad.
If that, exactly, and to confirm that, you need to know it's continuously by the scholars, everyone after one, they verify it. They said, okay, yeah, this happened.
Sure, let me speak. So when it comes to the Bible and Christians,
which is much older in a year,
right. But for us, our documents were written roughly about 70 years. Oh, actually, no, sorry. 40 years, because it would have been Jesus died in 33 AD, the earliest would say about 70 AD. So about, say, 40 years after Christ died, people were writing their Gospels, roughly. Some Gospels are later than others, but it's roughly that time. So we have a 40-year gap. With Islam, the earliest Sahih Hadith, you look at Sahih Bukhari, who is the earliest, he came about 830-ish.
Okay.
So Muhammad died in 632.
Okay.
Sahih al-Bukhari, Imam al-Bukhari, he died in around 830. So that's about 200 years. So roughly. So for Muslims, it's very important to have an isnad that goes back, because it wasn't written at the time of Muhammad. At least it may have been said there, but it wasn't written then.
No, it wasn't written. No.
Right. So you have to have these traditions.
They might have something.
Maybe.
Not the whole of it.
Okay.
Not the whole of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you.
For Christianity, we don't have that same emphasis because we had ours written much earlier.
The gap is much late.
It's much shorter. So for us, when we want to know what Jesus said, we look at the Gospels. Now, you said to me, but about this question of authorship, how do we know who authored the Gospels? Well, in a similar way, in the culture of Arabia, you had oral tradition. In the culture of the Middle East, in the culture of Jerusalem, in Israel, we also had oral tradition. So, give an example. When I gave the
what does it mean?
oral tradition.
Okay.
Yeah. So like with the Isnad, it comes from I don't know, Al-Tabari, what's his name? Ibn Abbas, the father of Tafsir. He recorded the narration from Aisha. Aisha recorded it from Muhammad.
Yeah. Sure.
Right. Okay. Sure. So likewise, from us, we have the beloved disciple, which is John. We then have him saying to his disciple Polycarp, who we have letters of, and then he taught in the church. He was an early martyr for the church. He then discipled someone called Irenaeus. And Irenaeus got his discipleship from Polycarp. Polycarp knew John. So we have similar things. So that's how we have understanding of what there is. So likewise for Matthew.
So it's not right that there is some versions no one knows who wrote them.
No, there are epistles of Paul that we're not sure about. So for example, the epistle to Hebrews is a letter written from Paul in the New Testament to the church, and we don't know if it was him specifically who wrote it, a scribe of him, or someone like Luke. There's a question there. And scholars are honest about that. We will talk about this.
Which means you're not sure about the whole scripture if it's true or not as well.
No. Let me rephrase this, because there is debate about who the author is, we don't see that as being a question on truth. And likewise for Islam, let me just this quick. So in Islam, you have the same thing. Because if I asked you now, because according to the early hadiths, there were those who recited the Qur'an, and there were those that wrote it down on stones and on leaves and on other things, right? They wrote parts of it down. Who wrote those down?
You have some names. We have some names.
Okay, who though? Who? Can you tell me their name?
Doesn't know specific names, but
you won't know the names.
Talking about the whole things. How did it work? You know, names doesn't make any difference right now. But we were talking about the whole things, how it's been reach us right now.
But my question is that it wasn't just oral tradition; it was also the writings, because both were used to make the copy that Hafsa had under her pillow from her dad Umar. The copy that was first made 2 years after Muhammad died. Muhammad died in 632. The copy was made in 634. That copy, when they go and do it, Abu Bakr says to Zayd bin Thabit, "You asked me to go and do this, but Muhammad never did this. You are asking me to do something Muhammad never did, and it would be like moving mountains." No, you know the hadith. So we can read the hadith for you. And it's a Sahih hadith.
Too much information. You know,
no, my friend, it's important to learn. Go and learn.
Too much study is various of flesh. Too much study is various of the flesh. The duty of man is to obey the law and make pray to Almighty. That's the matter. You are so knowledgeable.
I'm not, mate. I'm not
something I would clarify to you. If he did not do something, it didn't mean we cannot do it.
Correct. I'll give you that. But what I'm saying is, in this context,
unless originally you find it logic.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, so in the Gospels, yes. So let's take, for example, the Gospel of, let's say the Gospel of Mark. You won't find in the Gospel of Mark somewhere it goes, hello, my name is Mark, I am from here, this is who I am writing this Gospel. It doesn't say that in Mark. Alright, I'm going to do a quick wrap up because it's getting late, and that was a long chat. It was nice though, in the sense of, at the beginning I got to have a chat with Faraz. He was talking about the Qur'an and how the Qur'an has often been used to say things that it doesn't. It doesn't actually say these things that a lot of Muslims claim it does. And it's interesting because he's an Arabic speaker, so he can actually look into these things and he can decide for himself what it says. He doesn't have to go by what the Hadith say, he doesn't have to go by what the Tafsir say, he can just read the Arabic directly. And that's a really interesting point of view. I keep praying for him, I keep him in my prayers. I really hope that one day he turns to Christ and he turns away from Islam. I hope likewise. I know that elderly gentleman, he was, obviously he's been a part of Islam for a long time. His nephew, I think, perhaps a bit more open. Hope they hear the call to come to the real truth, to Jesus, away from Muhammad and to Jesus, the true God, the God in flesh in the person of Jesus Christ. Amen. Have a good day, everyone.